First tonight, under enemy fire, beaten, threatened with death and held in a dungeon. A Leicester University student tells this programme why he came here as a refugee.
Layiq Sediqi used to be one of the British Army's interpreters in Afghanistan, but when the Taliban found out, he was forced to flee. He's been speaking to our social affairs correspondent, Jeremy Ball.
A lunchtime kickabout at Leicester University, but for Layiq, this is the end of an extraordinary journey. It's a journey that began here in Helmand Province, where he spent 3 years on patrol and under fire as a British Army interpreter.
You become friends with lots of soldiers, and unfortunately I saw some of my friends get killed there. When we wake up in the morning, the first question was that whether I would be alive in the evening or not, because you could have stepped over a bomb and get blown up into pieces.
But bombs and bullets weren't the only danger. The Taliban sent him death threats when they discovered he was working for the British Army. So he escaped using people traffickers, and that meant facing new threats.
In Turkey, they can do whatever they want. They kept us for 35 days in the dungeon, and there was like 50 people in a very tiny room. We were literally sleeping on top of each other. When I asked for food and water, because there was lots of women and children with us, they started beating me and some other friends, to the point where they would start bleeding, and then film them and send it back to their parents. If you don't send us the money, we will beat your son to death.
And then a treacherous sea crossing in an overcrowded boat. When it started sinking, they decided to abandon it.
As we got back to the beach, the traffickers started firing around us in the water, trying to tell us to go back. But people panicked. They were jumping in the water, in different, swimming in different directions. Some people couldn't swim. They could kill you, and nobody will ever, catch them.
Layiq arrived here under a lorry after months sleeping rough, and when a British colonel vouched for him, he was accepted as a refugee. Since then, he's been helping the army again, training British soldiers on pre-deployment courses.
During these years, the British people has shown me nothing but love, generosity, and kindness.
So what was the hardest part of it?
When you arrive in Britain, you think all your problems ended, but actually you don't have anybody to talk with. And the nightmares that it gives you, it doesn't leave you behind. That's the problem.
Layiq's preparing for his final exams, and he wants to use his degree to help him tackle cholera back in Afghanistan. His hope now that one day it'll be safe enough to go home.
Well, Jeremy is with us now. Jeremy, the government has been criticised in the past for not allowing some Afghan army interpreters to stay here. So why was Layiq allowed to?
Well, of course, these interpreters often get targeted because the Taliban considers them to be collaborators. And everyone who claims refugee status here still has to prove that they're at genuine risk of persecution. Now, Layiq did that because he got this very powerful letter from a former British Army commander, and it says he's trustworthy, he was loyal to British troops, he showed great courage under enemy fire. The Home Office, though, has told some of the other Afghan interpreters to go home, and it says every single case is considered on its own merits. And of course, a lot of other Afghan asylum seekers are getting their claims turned down at the moment. As we've heard before on this programme, some of them are now being deported to parts of the country that our government considers to be safe.
OK, Jeremy, thank you.